All right, so I have an autococker. Got this one from my brother-in-law. I'm not sure where he got it from. I think from my father-in-law, to be honest with you, but it's not running. I hooked some air up to it earlier today and it did nothing but just drain air from my tank. So I went ahead and took it apart earlier. It needs a bunch of O-rings. I'll have to order those, but I put it back together so I can kind of show you how I took it apart and what the O-rings look like in their semi-original state. I'm sure they got a little scuffed up as I took them out, but these are pretty cool. I'm gonna do another video like I did for the Spider for this one because the pneumatics are different. Obviously I already took this off, so don't worry that it stays on the table. But the pneumatics on these are all pretty much external, with the exception of the valve and the poppet valve in here that shoots the paintball. Everything else comes forward to this block, feeds in from here. It splits to go to the valve to come to this block, and then in this block there is an inlet to this low pressure regulator. And then it feeds to this three-way valve, which is actuated by the trigger here, and then that pushes the ram back and forward to auto cock this thing, which is the whole reason for the name. Anyways, so let's dig into it. Like I said, I already took this off earlier. I've took it all apart. It was very tight, very hard to get apart. So I'm glad I did that so we can have a little bit more efficient way to take it apart for you today. So I'll just start here in the front with the air regulator. Still tight. I know, I'm gonna have to have this like re-anodized and polished back up. But either way, so in the regulator here, there's an O-ring in the front, O-ring in the back where it seals off to this cup. You got your air inlet here that attaches to the line earlier that comes from the tank. And then you take this off, this little bottom cover, set it off to the side. You can get a flathead in here. You can unscrew this whole regulator, spring and all. Then you can see the little plunger in here that is moved up and down by this guy. On the other side of this is a fun little thing called a bevel washer stack up. Once I get this out, I'm going to show you. A lot of people have a hard time with these, but basically it is just a stack of beveled washers. So they're, they usually have to go in a certain way. So I will dig up some manuals if I can find them to make sure that this is the correct stack. But this is how it came out earlier, so I'm assuming this is the way it goes. I want to question this bottom one because it has two of the concave touching each other. Normally it goes in like this concave convex, but that may be how it is. I'm not sure. But anyway, there's an O-ring on it as well, so several O-rings and the pressure regulator. I'm just going to go ahead and slip this back into place so I don't lose this stack up, and I really don't feel like rebuilding it at the moment. So I'm going to slip that back in there, put the regulator back together. Put the adjuster back in. Maybe I'll do a video on how these regulators work. That's not today. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and pull we'll pull the bolts out. So single pin here, bolt comes sliding out, two O-rings on the bolt here. Not sure if we can catch it on the camera. No. Let's see if my flashlight trick worked this week. You see the air coming through the back. So that's where it comes in. So again, same with the Spider. The valve in here lines up with this guy, shoots air into here, doesn't allow it to go backwards in the bolt or in the breech, only allows it to come in and push forward through the bolt itself. Pretty neat technology. All right, take off the cocking hammer here. Or cocking rod, whatever I call that thing. I'm not sure what the proper term for this is yet. I will have to look that up another day. But I'll go ahead and take it off. Forward. Let's take off this front block here. You can take this whole thing off in one fell swoop. All the pneumatics come together with it. I'll take all those apart here in a minute, but there is two little set screws, teeny tiny things. I don't even know what the actual size of this is, but they are teeny tiny. Do not want to lose those. You know, that side can actually stay because this post is free to slide down. Okay, front end here, that one I do know, it is a 3/16. The center one here actually goes into this block and into the front of the housing or the body or whatever I call it. I'm sure there's a proper term for it. Anyway, so that whole assembly, front pneumatics comes off one fell swoop. O-ring here. So there's an O-ring here because this here where it splits, there is an air inlet to this chamber here, and then if you can see down in there, there's also several ports that allows that air to expand through this block and then go down into this pressure regulator here. So O-rings on the back, there's an O-ring on the front just to keep all that air pressure nicely inside of the block. Set all of this right here. All right, so what's left? A whole bunch. All right, so we got the trigger mechanism. So I'm gonna loosen all these bolts for the guard, the trigger mechanism, and the one in the frame here. All right. So, just want to loosen these up a little bit. So, if I were to try and take this off now, I have to pull the trigger backwards to get this rod out of place. This guard is stopping it. But this guard made me jump the first time, gave me a little scare, because what happens is there is a block here that this is actually keeping in place, and it's spring loaded. So once you undo the screw enough, it pops out of place. So I'm going to put a little pressure on it just to hold it. Okay. Guard out. And then this guy. There's a spring behind it. For the sake of keeping components together. Alright, now we can take the trigger off. So we've got this screw in the back. That's the wrong one. Screw in the back. I'm slowly realizing that's really hard to see. Oh, there's another screw up here in the front, part of the trigger frame. eventually, there we go. All right, the long screw goes in the front. Take that off to the side, pull it down to get past the sear, and then backwards. Get that rod out. All right, now we have the main housing. This is for the ball detent that holds the paintball in place before the bolt comes forward and pushes it into the breech. So I'm going to leave that in there. There's no real reason I can see to take that out. All right, so we got a couple of neat more things in here. This is your hammer. So this slides forward, opens a poppet valve, lets the air flow through. This is tricky. So you would think there'd be a way to get to it. Let me see if I can show that to you. So here, you would think that you could access it from this side to undo this little rod here to allow it to come out of place. But no, you can't. The access to it is from the top. That sneaky little hole right there. I don't even know if you can see that all that well. Sneaky little hole. You need an 1/8 inch Allen wrench. And what you're going to do is slide that all the way down through that hole. Break your lighting that you have. Just kidding, don't break your lighting. Okay. Anyways, so you're going to slide that down. Sometimes you have to move it around a little bit. But eventually it falls into place, engages with this little I don't know, shear pin, locking bolt, whatever you're gonna call it, on the bottom here. I realized I'm looking at it, not showing the camera here. Anyway, so once that is far enough in, out that comes. Okay. Now the last thing to get out of here is going to be our valve. So you need Allen key here. Man, that's terrible. All right, Allen key here for this set screw. This dual purpose again, just like with the Spider. You can see down inside here, maybe. No, you can't see in there. I'll show you when we get it out. But that basically goes to the poppet valve to keep it in place and to prevent air from coming out the bottom. So, let's see if I can get this on camera. Let's see. Looking down the barrel. Can we see in there? No, we cannot. There we go. Wait for it. Nope, wrong direction. Down in there, you can just barely see it. So there is a valve. Now, apparently back in the day, they sold a special tool for that. I hate special tools. I think they're silly. And it's just, you know, not to be too harsh on the companies, but it's just a way to make money. So, what you can actually do, right here, on the back of your cocking rod, take this little set screw out. You can use this. It's the same size as this jam nut that's in the back. So, I think I've seen different cocking rods on the internet. So if you don't have, I'm assuming this to be the original. If you don't have the original, you may have to do something else. But I have the original here. Basically, all you have to do is put this guy in a 5/16 socket. Stick it down in there. So the main thing is that I'll show you when I get it out. jam nut, poppet valve. All right, so that's everything out of the body. There's our poppet valve assembly. That set screw sits in the side here just to hold this guy in place. And you got your hammer assembly, everything just like the spider I did last time. This all slams forward. So you cock it, it comes back, bang, opens that poppet valve, lets all the air flow through. But this one's different, it's not a blowback design. So this air pressure just goes forward to shoot out the paintball. The rest of this is actuated by the trigger mechanism and a three-way valve on the front of this. So I think I'm actually going to stop it there. I will record another video for the pneumatics because those take a few minutes to get apart. Either way, thanks for watching, and keep coming back, and hopefully we'll get better as this goes along.